Monday, February 26, 2018, regular session of Anamosa City Council at City Hall Council Chambers. With as many people as there are in here tonight, please keep the talking down so that everybody can understand. 1.0 roll call.
Rich.
Here.
Kay.
Here.
John.
Here.
Ron.
Here.
Cody.
Here.
Betty. Here.
And we're gonna have a change in the presentation tonight. 7.3 will be after the motion to approve the minutes, which is 2.0, motion to approve the minutes from the following meeting. First by Betty,
Second.
second by Kay. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 7.3, discussion and possible action on discrimination settlement relating to follow-up on personnel matter on the following item. Summary termination of chief of police, suspension of chief of police, process for review, evaluation of chief of police's employment.
I would like to make a motion to summary termination of chief of police with him to surrender all equipment in his possession by noon tomorrow.
Second.
First by Rich, second by Betty, with a summary termination of chief of police. Does that need to be a roll call? Does that need to be a roll call?
It didn't hurt to have a roll call.
But we'll do that roll call.
Rich.
Yes.
Kay.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Cody.
Yes.
Betty. Yes.
Back to the agenda. 3.0 public hearings, none. 4.0 presentations. 4.1 Tammy Dearborn regarding pit bull prohibition. Do you want to straighten that out a little? Thank you.
I'm Tammy Dearborn. My address is 600 North William Street here in Anamosa. I'm thanking you for giving me a voice. And I'm here regarding the pit bull breed being allowed in Anamosa. I come before this council requesting not to allow this breed in our city. I ask ourselves, what does our city have to gain by allowing this breed, and what happens to the safety level of our community? No, I'm not an expert on this breed, but I'm not naive in what this breed is capable of. The dismembering and fatal bites this breed can produce. I come before you not only as a dog owner, a mother, and a grandmother, but as a human being and a citizen of this community requesting safety and protection, not only for my dog, myself, but my grandkids. As a dog owner who walks my dog twice a day in this city, it makes me aware of the number of dogs already in this community. When I register our dog, which is required in this town, and there's only maybe 40 other dogs registered, I have to wonder about the large number of dogs that are not registered in this town. When I'm walking, I walk past a house, almost every other house has a dog, if not more than one, multiple dogs. Okay? So let's not assume that all pet owners in this city are responsible pet owners. Okay, I encounter a large number of pet owners that allow their dogs to what I call run at large. This is a dog off leash and unsupervised. Okay? I encounter this nearly on a daily basis. And let me tell you, before sunrise, in the dark, it can be very startling. So, these dog owners justify this at-large behavior by saying, it's okay, I have a friendly dog. Well, when a dog comes barking at you with its teeth out and its hair raised in the back, running towards you, it's not a friendly dog look to me, okay? And when the owners have to come out to the street to retrieve their dog off of ours, that's not a dog that's under control and a well-mannered dog. So, my point here is that I have the understanding that we have an ordinance in place that all dogs are supposed to be restrained, proving that the city already has an animal control problem. Okay, allowing this breed will only accelerate that problem. I understand that the argument is it's not the breed, it's the owners. Okay, I agree with that to some point. But we already have so many dog owners that think they are good pet owners by letting their dogs out the door to run free. Unfortunately, these current dogs are not of the pit bull breed, but let's not all be naive that all dogs are capable of biting. And not all dogs are capable of biting off a limb or fatally injuring somebody's face or neck. That's what this breed's known for. I have one more incident that brings me here today. I was on my own property in the driveway with my toddler grandchild. Around the corner of the building comes a dog barreling down that must have just been released from the neighbor's back door, unsupervised. The dog's barking and coming after her. Thank God she was the only grandchild I had with me, and I was able to put her up on my shoulder. And thank God for a repairman that I had on the property to come out and restrain that dog. And when we finally get the pet owners out there, the first words out of their mouth, oh, he's never done that before. I didn't find any comfort in those words. And that's what we hear from these pit bull owners too. They've never done that before. They just something, flipped. Now, my grandkids walk with me many times throughout the year around this town. And I asked the council, what am I to do as a grandparent to protect these precious children from this breed? Help is much more than a 911 phone call away, meaning there's no way help can get there in time to help us with a pit bull. Carrying a club, carrying a gun, I can't think of a way to prevent injury from a pit bull attack other than stay inside. Now, we work really, really hard in this community to make it a better place with parks and trails, and we spend a lot of money and encourage a lot of people to get out and exercise. And right at the moment, I just don't feel that this pit bull breed is gonna discourage people using these amenities that we're putting together. I think in the future it might be a way to come, but I think a lot needs to be done. And I have to ask myself, is this council truly prepared for the responsibility and the injuries that will occur allowing this breed in our community? Is there an insurance policy large enough to cover such a loss? I'm begging this council not to allow such an ordinance and to make safety a top priority in this instance. Now, I'm going to ask off the wall to everybody in this room. I don't want a verbal response, I just want a raise of the hand. In an instance, if you're to pull in a parking lot in this town, say like a grocery store or someplace else, and there's nobody else around, but you have your small grandchild, and there's a loose pit bull in that lot. Please raise your hand if you would get out of your car with a small child in hand and enter that store with nobody around to assist you. You would get out of your car and risk the chance of your grandchild or small child getting bit by a pit bull.
I've already answered your question, yes.
Then I'm wasting my time here.
Dale, Mr. Mayor, can we have control of the...
Either you show respect or you'll be asked to leave.
I have the floor.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.
My time.
This is not the time for public comment.
Oh, okay.
She had a
Yes,
presentation.
We could, but I got you.
Sorry.
Yep, no, you're fine.
John? No, that's...
My name is John Ely. I live at the corner of Davis Street and at North Davis Street and Cedar Street at 301 North Davis. And I came prepared to talk about the chief of police stuff. I think that's been pretty well covered here. The only other thing, this is from a brief, I believe that's what it's called, that Amy Ford's attorney filed with the court. And basically, it's attorney Adrian Knuth, who's seated up here, testified he gave the following instructions to Johnson. And I talked to Adrian tonight, and he hadn't read this, so he can comment when I'm finished. But I quote what's in the brief. I received a phone call from Al Johnson. He reported to me that one of the city's peace officers had received a phone call from somebody representing to be with Mrs. M.S. Fiedler's office, Ms. Fiedler's office representing Amy Ford, and wanted to conduct a phone deposition. I requested Al Johnson, a city administrator, to instruct Chief Simonson to inform his office that since litigation was pending, or at least the correspondence indicated it was pending, that in light of the litigation pending, that their officers were not to respond to any request for information without clearance from either Chief Simonson, Al Johnson, city administrator, myself, and I believe at the time Mr. Novak was already on board. The last part of that, I guess, is subject to interpretation. Does that mean Mr. Novak was already the attorney representing the city? And I believe he was at that time. So that's my understanding. It can be taken two ways, and perhaps Adrian can address that, whether Mr. Novak suggested that. However, and this is cited by Amy Ford's attorneys, defendants had an independent duty to preserve relevance, that's sick, evidence regardless of whether plaintiff's attorney sent a letter. Regarding this concept, Judge Bennett has held a first-year law student should have, most would have, known that a party must retain documents or records that are likely to be relevant in any pending litigation. Apparently, according to Amy's lawyers, some of the things that people have seen somehow disappeared and were destroyed. Amy's lawyers go on to say it's a well-established principle that intentional destruction of or failure to produce documents or physical evidence relevant to the proof of an issue in a legal proceeding supports an inference that the evidence would have been unfavorable to the party responsible for destruction or non-production. I have the citations here and stuff, which I didn't read before. Phillips versus Covenant Clinic, 625 Northwest 2nd, page 718. It's a Iowa case from 2010. So that I tried to bring this up in a council meeting, this exact thing. The mayor of Anamosa, Dale Barnes over here, wouldn't let me do that. The issue was whether they were going to continue the city attorney's contract. I found out later I could have appealed to the council members. I'm not a lawyer, so I miss a lot of things. So if this ever happens to you, remember you can always appeal to the council members. So that's basically all I have. Most of the stuff I had to do with the chief of police, and I'm happy with the decision that the council's made there. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. 5.0 proclamations none. Council action item 6.0 community betterment. 6.1 discussion and possible action on second reading of ordinance amending chapter 55 of the city code animal protection and control to drop breed specific prohibition.
Can we speak now?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
There's just some people that said they couldn't hear.
Oh.
Is there any way the microphones can be turned on, or?
Those aren't for audio for you, they're for recordings.
Okay.
Dale, could you please speak up a little bit? Everybody's straining. I would like to comment on this. When it comes to breed specific, also known as DSL, breed specific law, in accordance to this agenda item, purebred dogs, whether it be for herding purposes, hunting purposes, show purposes, the bloodline has been in existence with animals for over 100 years. When you breed for the purebred in the line that you plan to use it on, there are certain strains or pedigree that you look to maintain. Some of them are the quality of dog that you want in the end, but also with those strains comes undesirable or unfavorable. So you begin to use another breed of, or another bloodline to breed out of that. But a lot of those strains still remain. A Walker coonhound obviously is for coon hunting. An English pointer is for upland hunting. Collies were for herding. So those bloodlines and strains still exist. The pit bull was initially bred for just that. All dogs bite. All dogs are suspect to bite, I should say, until you have now proven it's not going to. But I don't know at what point in time you can prove that does not exist. Some dogs are for mauling and maiming. That is what they were initially bred for. So it comes down to, can this ordinance that we have withstand itself from a legal side? I'll refer council to a memo that the city attorney sent to us on 12/20/17. Under current jurisprudence, the city of Anamosa likely has the police power to enact a breed-based prohibition. Many towns throughout the state of Iowa operate under such ordinances. The Supreme Court of the United States has addressed two primary cases that pertain to state legislative power to regulate the ownership of canines. In both cases, the Supreme Court found that such regulation were permissible. Building off the United States Supreme Court's precedent, 8 state Supreme Courts have upheld the constitutionality of breed-specific legislation. The Iowa Supreme Court is one of those 8. As of October 2017, 860 cities across the United States regulate specific dog breeds. Each of these 860 cities' regulations target pit bulls. Some include other breeds as well, but pit bulls are included in each. Council Bluffs, Iowa is one of those cities that have enacted a pit bull breed ban. So I believe, based on that information, our current ordinance is enforceable. Thanks.
Rod, what was the date of that memo you said?
I believe the memo was December 20th of 2017.
To the council?
I'm gonna take advantage of how many people are in the room, and without anybody saying anything, I'm gonna go to Tammy Dearborn's statement. Who in that parking lot with their grandchild would not get out of the car? It's your guys' ordinance, I had to ask.
Adrian, do you still stand today behind the memo that you sent?
Yes, with some qualification. There are some provisions of our ordinance that I think might be suspect, where they talk about prohibiting dogs of mixed breed or other breeds, and they're referencing the American Pit Bull, Staffordshire Terrier, known as pit bulls, pit bull dogs, or pit bull terriers, and then any other breed commonly known as pit bull dogs, or pit bull terrier. This was from the Iowa Supreme Court and invalidating a portion of Des Moines' pit bull prohibition. In fact, their ordinance reads just like ours. And the Iowa Supreme Court said when you specifically reference a breed, the Staffordshire Terrier, the American Pit Bull Terrier, the American Staffordshire Terrier, that was constitutional. But and they also said that, or any dog with the appearance and characteristics of being primarily of the breed. The Iowa Supreme Court upheld Des Moines' prohibition. When they say, and I believe our ordinance does, references any other breed commonly known as pit, might look like a pit, that was unconstitutionally vague. So I think that our ordinance with a little tweaking is defensible.
I received a lot of communications regarding this in favor of the current ordinance and of the proposed ordinance. All the material that was sent to me, I did review.
It's got one comment, a lady, I'm sure Jenna from Cedar Rapids, probably not here. She called the other day, and she would like to been here, but this crowd wasn't. She just, I pass it on, and they have a pit bull cross. They'd like to move here.
because her husband works in Cedar Rapids, she's gonna work in Macokota. And that was just her opinion, she wanted to come, like I said, couldn't make it, and I said I would pass this on, what I said I would do, I will do, and that was her opinion, because they have a cross. And again, she just wanted this out to the people around here, they'd like to move here, because it'd be in between the two jobs.
One of the other statements I hear is, are we taking a dog and giving them human rights by saying you can't discriminate as if it were a human being? You know, placing human rights on animals. This is not an easy one.
Well, it's not easy, but like Tammy also said, all dogs will bite, or to that effect. So, do you turn around and say we're going to eliminate all dogs from the community? We can't do that.
I believe there's a difference between a dog that will suspect a bite versus a dog that could be considered to maul.
Well, then
I
you've
know
got
where I
German-
would like to take my chance.
Well, then you've got German Shepherds, you've got Rottweilers, you got Doberman Pinschers. I mean,
St. Bernards,
yeah.
goes on and on.
Chow.
We're here, we are currently here because of certain terminology and verbiage in the ordinance.
That is correct.
Mayor Barnes, I certainly don't want to be dismissive, but I don't want a free-for-all on public comment.
Well, I need a first and a second before we can get to that part.
Well, in order to get to a vote, I'll make a motion, we remove the verbiage from breed specific.
I'll second it.
First by Cody, second by Betty.
That's to approve the second reading, correct?
Yeah.
Now you can have public comment.
Alright, Chris Collins, 507 East First. Oh, I'm sorry.
You need to speak up.
Sorry.
I can't hear you. If
No
this
one
is a
can hear you
public
over here.
meeting,
I'm-
are we allowed to hear
I think it's
everybody?
this half of the room. I think
Yeah,
it's just the,
no,
but,
that half can't hear me. I thought I was speaking up.
so I was the guy that, I become the annoying pit bull guy. So, I wanna just, you're right. Pit bulls were bred not 100 years ago, actually 221 years ago. And they would tie a bull to a chain, or to a stake, and allow a pack of dogs to go in and kill the bull. It was a sport. It was a blood sport. Okay? That's why they were bred. We're not in 1886 anymore. Okay? These dogs, still right now, Sergeant Stubby, who's a purebred pit bull, is the most decorated war dog in United States history. As of 2015, pit bulls, purebred pit bulls, the mean dogs that are maulers, that are going to walk down the street and kill people, are police canine. They're trusted as complete police canine. You guys got probably an email from a Julie Wall, a Daisy Brown, a Holly White, and I could sit up here and I could scare you guys and say, yeah, you know, if you guys, I don't know too many cities that get sued for a person's dog biting. Now, if you don't take action, yeah, okay. Dogs running at large. The dog that everybody keeps referencing to running around the store, well, that's a dog at large problem. There's an ordinance on that, okay. 97% or over 90% of all dog bites are from dogs at large. So why is that not the issue? So I wanted to get to the people that have been not even from here. As you said, you wanted to keep this within Anamosa, right? With the very first time that I came up here, you said you wanted local facts. very first time, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. The fatality in Monticello, 2 Rottweilers, not pit bulls. That was presented to you guys as pit bulls, not pit bulls. Julie, I think that's her name, right? Yeah, Julie Wall sent you guys this. And if this is true, then maybe we do need to look at it, but it says pit bull bans cause murders, rapes, and robberies to drop by 45%. I don't know how that's possible. Maybe it is. And maybe at that point, then maybe we do need to look at it. This was also, I run a local Anamosa Pit Bulls Facebook page, okay? This was posted on, not her, this is actually her friend, dogbite.org if you guys go to it. You guys can get all the scare facts you want on pit bulls. This was on her page. We need a vigilante to go on a pit killing spree. My sheriff office blew the case and gave a plea deal to a dog owner in exchange for meth dealers' names. Shoot, shovel, and shut up. Holly, her friend, goes on to say she's going to add the picture of the dog to her dead pit bull collage. So if that is the type of people that we are going to take advice from, then there's no hope. This will be bad. Okay? Admittedly, Mrs. Dearborn said she's not an animal expert. We had one of those 2 weeks ago. Anamosa vet, Brian Darrow. Most well-recognized name in Anamosa, I hear. I'm not from around here, but that's what I hear. He's an animal expert. I would say he would be the voice to listen to. He said that there is nothing that makes pit bulls more aggressive than any other dog. Now, the first time you guys voted, I didn't know, and that was on me because I didn't know there was 3 readings. Okay, so you guys were given, they have the strongest bite. That's false. They have the 9th strongest bite, behind German Shepherds, Mastiffs. Okay, that they have a locking jaw. I personally, I've talked to 5 of you guys, and Tammy, and not you 2, but you guys. Out of the 6 of you, 3 of you have either had pit bulls at your house or know people within the city that have pit bulls or multiple pit bulls. I've had, me personally, and Adrian, maybe I actually talked to Tammy, maybe you could clarify, did you ever check on the emotional support animals?
Yes.
Okay, and what was your finding on that? Can you have
What's your question?
Can you have in the city of Anamosa, if your dog is a bona fide emotional support animal, can you have that pit bull in your home in the city of Anamosa?
Yes.
Okay, because at the last meeting you did say there's currently no legislation. So, for 4 months, I have emailed Mr. Barnes, Tammy, and I was directed to the police department. My girlfriend, we've had a letter of accommodation, or a letter of, help me out, the letter of accommodation from a licensed therapist. I emailed you, I never got a response. I talked to Tammy, she directed me to the police department under the FHA. Spoke to your police chief, Simonson, and he told me in a direct quote, why don't you just move back to Cedar Rapids, that's where you work, stop causing issues for the council. Okay? So, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't know all the laws. So I contacted her, and I said, hey, if I move to a town and I have a pit bull, and it's an emotional support dog, and we have that, can I still have that dog? And they told me yeah. And they were very interested that if anybody in the city of Anamosa is denied housing because of a service dog or emotional support dog, that they would like to hear from them. I've also had a Vietnam veteran who has a service dog that is an American Bulldog that your police department tried to take away. This type of legislation does not work. It doesn't. It costs you guys money.
You need to wrap it up. You've
Absolutely.
reached about
I would just like
7 minutes.
Yep. you're good. I would just like you guys to take into consideration, Brian Darrell at the Anamosa Vet, the American Veterinary Medical Association, ASPCA, and the 40 other Humane Society and veterinarian groups that specifically are against this, including the Center for Disease Control. That's all I got.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Anybody else?
Kelly Day, 110 West Walnut Street. And I'm opposed to the breed-specific ban. I've got a document here I'll pass around to the council. It is 8 different studies done by highly recognized organizations. None of them approve breed-specific language. They found that most of the time they couldn't even tell what the breed was. You're talking about veterinarians here. Everything else, they don't know what the breed is by looking at it all the time. There's a 25 to 33% accuracy rate, and yet you expect the public, local law enforcement to tell what a breed is just by looking at it. You guys can keep that to look at later. But my main thing is, you guys are focusing on, if you look at it, there was 238 dog fatality bites over a 20-year period. 238 over 20 years. You're focusing on that, which, when you look at the statistics versus the number of pit bulls, what I'm saying is, let's say you got 50 Labradors and you got 5,000 pit bulls, and they're equally likely to bite, obviously you're going to have more pit bull bites. It's just a fact because of the numbers. But you need to quit looking at the dog fatalities. Let's focus more at, in 1986, non-fatal dog bites resulted in an estimated 585,000 injuries that required medical attention or restricted activity. By 1994, an estimated 4.7 million people sustained a dog bite. Of these, approximately 800,000 sought medical care for the bite, and 6,000 were hospitalized. So why are you focusing on 238 dogs over 20 years when the breeds, when you measured out how many dogs there are versus how many bites for that breed, it's the same no matter which statistic you look at, which will be in what I sent around to you. You need to focus on dog bites, not breeds, dog bites and their behavior. And it's all brought on by the people that raised them, not the way they were bred. For instance, I don't know if any of you guys remember my dog, Arnold. He was an English Mastiff. And he was in a lot of parades around here. Big, 170-pound dog. You know, English Mastiffs were recorded back in 55 BC with Julius Caesar. They were war dogs. But my gosh, I had little babies crawling around on him. Everybody loved him. He loved everybody else. No one had a bad thing to say about him. So, I mean, if you want to look, my dog was 170 pounds. I bet you he could bite stronger than anything. But he was afraid of a 6-week-old kitten. And I've got a picture to prove it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you headed for the stand, Nancy?
Pardon me?
You're headed for the...
Yeah, I am.
All right.
Thank you. I had to have my techno person come here for me, so can you be on this side? I don't know. I'm Nancy Schaefer, 803 North Division Court, Anamosa. I don't think we have the right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work.
Oh, you don't have the HDMI connection?
All he needs to have a mini adapter.
Adapter.
I don't have one. I don't have one.
Sorry.
I mean, we can turn it around and see.
Do that. I mean,
We're all ears to your presentation. You can't correct. Sorry about that, Nancy.
I'm sorry too, I guess. People probably would adapt. So,
I just have to look.
Stand back.
glad
know
she's,
why.
I'm glad she's tall. So, like anything in society, you don't make laws for the best of us, you make them for the worst of us, it seems like. And hopefully we can get this.
I never would have imagined in a million years before this that my dog, my pet, would attack me and kill a child.
His face is just gone. I mean, from here down, it's just mangled. What kind of...
So, try to summarize this quick. This was a lady who was babysitting for a toddler. And this lady had 2 pit bulls that she raised from puppies. They slept with her every night. She went out in the backyard to do something with the child. The dogs came out, rushed at her, tore the child out of her arms, and mauled that child in front of her while she tried to beat it off. And the last person on there was the father talking about his toddler son face being ripped off. I mean, that's pretty powerful what a dog can do. We've talked about identifying them. In 2013, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty of Animals did a double-blind study that revealed that shelter workers were able to correctly identify dogs with significant pit bull blood 96% of the time, as confirmed by DNA. I'm sure that was something that did not just come to them. They were taught what to look for, just as you would teach police officers or city employees what to look for. Dr. Darrell mentioned having a client that did not represent as a pit, and the owner told him it was a pit. Our city personnel are looking at animals that present as pits and pit mixes. They're not going out for everyone. They're looking at those that present that way. And the high courts specifically state a dog owner of ordinary intelligence can determine if he does in fact own a dog commonly known as a pit bull. The court also states American Pit Bull Terrier is a recognized breed of dog readily identifiable by laymen. And this is Ohio versus Anderson. The term nanny dogs, they talked about that. That's a fabricated myth that was tagged on in the 70s to describe the vintage photos and to soften the look of a pit bull. And we've all heard the argument, don't blame the breed, blame the deed, meaning how they are raised. And Rod touched on that. Breed instinct has to be taken seriously here. You have dogs that naturally do what was bred into them. And there's breed standards, and even if you have a mix, you could have a German short-haired pointer and may have a little bit of something else in it. It's most likely going to go on point. A dachshund was bred to hunt mean animals that live in burrows, so they were bred to not back down or give up and to think for themselves. Border collies, 8 weeks old, they have the instinct to go out in the field, bring back a herd of Holstein cows, and they bring them back at the correct time to be milked. There's that instinct in dogs. Pit bulls were selectively bred for gameness, and that's the ability to fight to the end, to fight to the finish. Their selected breed traits are a robust jaw strength, a deadly bite style, tenacity, and a high tolerance to pain. They tend to attack deep muscles to hold on, to shake, and to cause ripping of tissues. And that's the difference in the dog bites. Pit bull bites are compared to shark attack bites. But you're only going to encounter a shark when you're in water. So, and those are the breed traits. And you cannot love the instinct of these dogs out of them, and you can't train that instinct out of them. And it's not stereotyping when you recognize breed traits in the thousands of victims of unprovoked serious attacks. In 2017, pit bull and pit bull mixes killed more people than all other breeds combined. And we have this great video to show you. But going on from there, there's a Dr. Michael S. Galinko. He completed the largest dog bite study to date, and that was completed in 2013. He specializes in pediatric plastic surgery and reconstruction. His experience in treating dog bites began during his plastic surgery fellowship in Atlanta, and they encountered a dog bite in a child just about every night. And they noticed a trend that the bitings were basically one type of dog kept resurfacing, and that was the pit bull that kept resurfacing. And here's a quote from Dr. Galinko. It is known from data that between 75 to 90% of the time, the biting dog is a dog known to the family. I say to those families or families thinking about getting a pit bull, there are plenty of other less dangerous breeds that also need homes. There is no reason to subject a child or others to the risk of such a dangerous dog when there are so many other great breeds to choose from. A Chihuahua having a bad day is very different than a pit bull having a bad day and disfiguring a child for life. So these attacks are quick. You can't hardly even, you don't even realize it's going to happen. It's so quick. And they're quick and quiet when they're standing there, and then it turns without warning. Within the law, dogs are property, and the United States Supreme Court ruled over 100 years ago that dogs may be regulated for the purpose of public safety. I have with me a model pit bull ordinance based on the Denver pit bull ban, and the Denver ban has withstood so many legal challenges. It's a solid ordinance, and many are based off of Denver's ordinance now. It isn't about the personal freedom of dog owners. It's about public safety and life and death. And he was talking about bite incidents. Well, I can turn that around and say, gee, maybe it's because we've had this ban in place is why we haven't had the bites. So you can look at it that way. And I think I believe that's true. That fact is we have not had that because of the ordinance that was put in place by council. Also, I called quite a few insurance companies. Almost every one of them said to me, no. We'll write your homeowner's insurance, but if you have pit bull breed, we're not going to cover anything on it. I did go online and answered questions honestly based on how my dog behaves when I was filling out the application, and they would write up to $300,000, but the premiums were close to $1,000 a year. So I really don't think that those dog owners are probably going to buy that insurance. I urge you to keep it as is or write it so that we can cover it better and keep the breed specific law in. I have some handouts for you. I'm really glad I did this because somebody said, don't trust technology always. I do without a job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
And I appreciate you looking at this, and I'm speaking because, you know, I was contacted and people know I get up and say something. So, thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Don Ellis, 505 East First Street. I'll make this brief. When I was about
What was your last name, Don?
Ellis.
Ellis, sorry. Thank
When
you.
I was about 13, I was attacked by the neighbor's dog, which was a mutt. It attacked my leg, and I had to beat it off with a tennis racket, and I almost passed out. I still got those scars today. On that same note, I go to work every day and work for a guy that has a pit bull look-alike. I don't know if it is. He don't know if it is. The dog comes running up to you, will jump on you, kiss you, every single day, no matter who comes in this thing. So I just want you guys to, you know, think about how you're gonna vote. I can see it both ways, but I can tell you I work with one 5 days a week, and I would trust that with a baby or any of my kids. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll make this one really quick. This is Collins, 507 East First Street. Insurance, State Farm covers it. I actually called them and I said, hey, what if I want to buy a 200-acre lot and have a pit bull farm? No, nothing, not a single thing. Okay, I think it's very stereotypical to say that pit bull owners can't afford dog bite insurance or homeowners insurance. I'll even go on in rebuttal that there are no pit bulls in Anamosa.
All right.
There's over 100 by Brian Darrow himself that said that, so that's it.
All right. Thanks. Ready to vote?
Is it anybody else?
Can I say something just really quick? Also, my husband already spoke. Tony Ellis, 505 East First Street. I don't have a lot to say about it, except for neighborly experience, and we are neighbors with Chris, who brought up this ban. And I do have to say, being Chris's neighbor, he's very respectful. His dogs have never gave us any issues. We own dogs ourselves. And I would be proud to say that I live next to a gentleman who takes care of his dogs, and even if they are pit bulls or other breeds. So when you guys consider, I would hope that you would consider that if you have a neighbor like this, that you would want your neighbor to be like this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now are we ready to vote? And it's a roll vote.
Kay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rod,
No.
Cody,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
Alrighty. 6.2, discussion and possible action on resolution establishing and adopting guidelines for public participation at city council meetings.
You have in your packet an example from that Rich was nice enough to provide regarding what the school board does. And I just basically took that format and adapted it to a proposed resolution. I tried to follow what you kind of had in practice since we've added the public participation on council agenda items. So that's just a rough draft. You can give me direction or any thoughts on that. Changes. I know it was brought up to me that one thing that might be added is the direction when someone is, addressing, making a comment or presentation, that is directed to the council, and that they're not, the public and other people are not participating in that unless the council gives them direction to do so. So it's between that person and the council. I don't know if you wanted that in there or not. So if you wanna just think about this and, give me suggestions and we can bring it back up in full, or you can.
So for clarification, we're creating a resolution. So at our city council meeting, when the public speaks to the council, there's a certain protocol that will take place each and every time at each and every meeting, and we will not veer from that.
Right, and if you, do you want me to read those?
Does the public want her to read that?
Well, Tammy, appreciate you making that available to us. And I believe it's a place to start.
Okay, and that was my intent.
I would like to personally give more consideration to it.
Sure.
Before we begin to put it out in front of a motion and adopt.
Right. So you just wanna think on this and
Table it for the next meeting? I make a motion to table this for the next meeting.
First by Betty,
Second.
second by Rod, to table this till the next meeting. It's a roll vote.
you don't need a roll vote on
All
that,
right.
actually.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Carried. 6.3, discussion and possible action on proposed pre-treatment agreement between the Anamosa State Penitentiary and the City of Anamosa.
And I just received, some correspondence from, Bill Spearslaggy, the warden at the penitentiary. We've had, just to update everyone, we've had 3 meetings now regarding, this agreement, and, we thought we were in the right ballpark, and Lindsay was gonna do a presentation, but, Bill would like to review this a little further as far as the final numbers go. And he talked to Pat and Lindsay, and so we're gonna table this at this point and maybe have one more meeting to firm up that, so everybody is very comfortable with those numbers before we bring it to the council. But this gives you an idea of what's on the table, so.
I think
So
it's a
we
good
don't need to
idea to
take
have
any
that
action.
committee, if that committee wants further review, then we should certainly allow them all the opportunity.
Yep. I appreciate that.
So we don't need to do anything with
No
that.
action at this point.
Alright. 6.4, discussion and possible action on solicitation of bids for discrimination sensitivity training for City of Anamosa employees.
I make a motion, we implement a policy and get training and include it in that yearly training happens in the employee handbook.
First by Betty,
Second.
second by John. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 7.0, public safety. 7.1, motion to approve the renewal of beer and liquor license. A renewal of Class E liquor license, Class B wine permit, and Class C beer permit with Sunday sale privileges. Walmart store number 646.
So moved.
Second.
First by Cody, second by Rich. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? 7.2, discussion and possible action regarding the implementation of fines for failure to license dogs within the City of Anamosa.
The council asked to put this on the agenda, and Adrian had proposed a couple options as far as what type of, where it would fall under the fines.
Well, if you treat it as a simple misdemeanor, it's a $65 fine. I forget, does our ordinance prescribe first, second violation?
I don't believe so.
No, that's just for at large.
Yes.
Can it be
I can
done in a
double check it.
tier, like if the police come to your residence for something else and you have a dog there that is not licensed, you can get a fine? However, if your dog is involved in an aggressive, it's a $750 infraction?
Well, the officers have that discretion in the citations they issue. They could issue a municipal infraction citation, which could be up to $750, and injunctive order that they license the dog within a certain period of time. You might have the officer encounter what he thinks is simply a matter of oversight and then issue a simple citation. So I think they have that discretion already.
Travis, can you comment in light of that? How is it currently handled?
The state citation, which is $65 fine, court cost, since it's a simple misdemeanor charge, how I've charged in the past. One, I didn't know we could do a municipal infraction, that's pretty good fine for a $3 metal tag.
Geez, that's so sad.
Keeping a dog at large.
Thank you.
I think if we're gonna do this, lift the breed thing, we need to get very, very, very strict on dog licensing. And it's not gonna take very long. The public will know how strict we are before all of a sudden they'll start policing themselves.
I think right now people hide their dogs, and I don't know that how that is gonna change. I was just thinking down our street, I would guess there are 4 at least that aren't licensed, and it might include mine, cause I think mine ran out in February.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Another day.
If that's the case, Kay, you're hiding your dog for a reason other than the $3 licensing fee?
I think perhaps some are, but I think perhaps some just don't realize how important it is to have a license on your dog, so if your dog attacks mine again, I can go to you and say, I want to see the papers, I'm very angry.
Well, in response to you, Rod, probably what's happening is some of those people are not taking their dog to the vet on an annual basis to get the shots and
Not
get
to be.
get everything done that they need to have done to turn the paperwork in to get the license.
And it is a requirement.
And so,
Yeah.
therefore, it's actually a bigger hindrance by them not doing that than it is a positive. I mean, for $3 license, they may spend, I don't know, $150,
It's expensive.
something for the shots and everything that they need to have.
But I don't see where the city should have to apologize for implementation of that.
Oh, I'm not suggesting they should have to apologize,
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting it's gonna be very difficult to get everybody to license their dog.
And
Because, partly because of the cost.
but if they,
Leave that to our
get
trusted
caught,
police department.
and actually a $3 license for a dog is very cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, that's where the public comes in. If you know you have a neighbor that doesn't have their dog's license and you're concerned about it's not been to the vet, it doesn't have its shots, I mean, if you're concerned and it's a true concern, that's where we need to start saying, hey, is your dog's licensed? No, call the police, turn it in, but I don't see where we have a choice but to be very strict with the licensing of dogs. Other communities are very strict with it. I'm all for getting rid of the ordinance of pit bulls, but I'm gonna be ultra strict on the licensing. That's a fair trade.
And I agree with that, and
I do too.
I'm not so sure that it shouldn't be a sliding scale of $65 first time, maybe $8,500 next time. If you get caught and you have not fulfilled it, that needs to be a sliding scale.
Well, you implicitly have that, because any violation of the city code is by definition under chapter 4 of the city code a municipal infraction. with a civil penalty up to $750.
Okay.
So the department, in issuing citations, could have a repeat or a flagrant where they could ask for more. They could ask for a minimum 65 or anything up to 750.
And I'm okay with leaving the license at, what, is it $3?
Mhm,
We don't have
it
a
is.
dog.
Yes.
So it's not like mine's not lunch.
$4 for each male, $4 for each female.
Oh.
And-
So
and-
for $4,
well, and can I also say, I have seen some communities, if they're altered animals, they're at one price. If they're unaltered animals, they're at a higher price.
what is that?
It says a
Neutered.
state.
Oh, neutered. Altered, I never Yeah, I like that. Sorry, I'm not an animal person. I
If you spayed your female, then it's classified as deemed a male, so it's only 3. That's what it says.
So maybe we need to look at some of the wording in that too. then.
So what do you want to do with that one?
I would like to see the defined structure be more defined. If we're gonna go with, you know, a level of tiers, we go ahead and we set that fine.
Would you put that in the ordinance?
Not leave it to any type of interpretation. If your first, it says first time you're caught with an unlicensed dog, this is your fine. Second time, it goes up to this. Third, whatever we want to decide for those levels, we clearly define it and it's implemented, adopted that way.
That would make it easier on the officer too.
Yes,
It's
it
this,
would.
it's this, not you
And,
did this
you know,
much, you
can-
got that much.
I don't have a problem going from 65 to 130 to 750. But I want it defined that it is not for interpretation or any type of speculation.
Yeah.
And that's set by dog, not by one person
by
has
owner.
3 dogs.
It's per dog.
By
Per
dog.
dog.
Per dog.
And Jamie will be really busy tomorrow because everybody in here now knows.
What was that middle
Can I
tier?
ask a question?
As far as the tiers, Adrian, all I did was doubled the 65 to 130. You know, and if you want to double that again before you get to a $750 level, I'm not going to personally get hung up on the dollar amounts as
Yeah.
the definition of what they are.
Well, and I'm gonna go to a different level too, that if they are not getting something done with their dog by the time it reaches maybe the 3rd or 4th level, and they're not getting it vaccinated, it may be removal. You know, at some point, the owner's gotta take responsibility.
I would like to see the owner take responsibility of keeping their dog on a leash when it's loose too.
Well, there is an ordinance for that already.
You have to approach the main. You're the main.
Have wings.
It'll help.
Yvonne Forceline from 501 Jordan Drive. My question regarding this is, okay, for 2 years, let's say 3 years, they have not bought the $3 dog license. If somebody comes into your yard and says, where's your, and checks out that the dog does not have a current tag, how are they going to determine how many years a tag has not been bought? The authorities, the police, or whoever is going to have to check back into the records. So how good a record is kept on whether my dog is licensed every year by the city of Anamosa?
I think it'll just be on the circumstance. Is it licensed at the time?
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody's suggesting that we go back in history and look.
Well, that's why I'm saying you're establishing a tier. The first time, or maybe that's it. Just the first time the dog is caught without a current license is so much, the second time you're caught without a current tag. Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
No,
it's
that's fine.
You're
We
good.
always,
Well, do you want me to put something together and just some numbers that you can quantify later? But I'll give you what I think you're looking for, and then you can tell me what numbers you want.
That would be good. Thank you.
What does Chris want now?
Just in regards to this, I know from like personal experience, it's kind of hard right now. If you work at like a 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday, to get the dogs registered, because you can only do it through the police department. Sergeant McNally is the only one that I've spoke to that actually could fill out the paperwork besides the just the secretary that works. Yeah. So it's actually kind of hard if you can't get in there when they're open to do it. I'm all for having them done, and I've actually talked to I told you guys before, I talked to like the local humane societies, and they would be willing to work with you guys on having that as an alternate place to have them licensed and stuff. It's just just right now it's kind of hard if you do work like a normal job. So
Makes sense.
So,
and
Brian,
I'll talk to you further on this later.
The other thing you could do is if you've got a form that you need them to complete, you could put that online.
Yeah,
It's
that
on
would
the
be
website.
awesome.
Then they could bring in the form to us with the money, and we could give that to you, and you could give them their license.
And if you're closing, drop it in the night thing too.
We have a
Where the
Dropbox?
water bill is. Did you say that? I couldn't hear you were facing that way.
Hi, Kelly Day, 110 West Walnut. Just a couple suggestions. Maybe make up a contract to work with the local shelter, because they are the ones that provide animal control, and you need to give them direction as to what you want them to do. If they pick up a dog that's from Anamosa and it's not licensed or is licensed. And secondly, there's always the potential. There's quite a few rescue groups in Cedar Rapids and here and everything that have foster homes, and they foster dogs. So then the question becomes, what do you do with those people that are fostering dogs for rescues too? So that's something else you gotta think about.
Good thoughts.
So we'll let Adrian work.
Oh, nothing.
Hold on, I think you have some more public comment.
Oh, I wasn't moving on.
We'll be fine.
Tammy Dearborn again. Yes, when you go to register your dog, you have to have your vet information. When you register your dog, they give you the little tag. The dog needs a collar. The dog needs this tag. Everybody should be able to see this tag and know if your dog's registered. You also, from your vet, get a tag that has its rabies shots. Both of these are to be on your dog on a collar, okay? And your dog is to be restrained. As of this morning, this town has 65 dogs registered. That doesn't cover 2 blocks maybe, or the 2-mile area in this town. 65. You have a big problem on your hands. And we have a bigger problem with the loose dogs that aren't restrained.
So them 2 tags come from the vet?
You get from the vet when they get their rabies shot. They get this tag.
Right.
This has to be on your dog. This one you get from the city.
Okay.
Okay, it expires, it's good for a year. These both need to be on a collar on your dog at all times when it's outside. Okay?
Thank you,
Thank you, Tammy.
And when it's outside, if there's a chance it could get loose and bite somebody, it needs to happen. It'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
8.0.
You should have a collar on your
Public
dog,
Works.
because that's about the only way you can
None.
restrain it.
9.0 Finance. 9.1 Discussion
Wait.
possible action. Possible action on pay request number 4 and number 5 to Kalachi Construction in the respective amounts of $72,675 and $115,235 for the water treatment plant expansion project.
So moved.
First by Cody,
second.
second by Rich. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Carried. 9.2, discussion possible action on pay request number 6 to Rickless Excavating Ltd. in the amount of $41,325 for the Second Street Lift Station Improvement Project.
Is this final payment, Tammy?
No. No, we still have the retainage and some beside stuff, so.
Make the motion to pay Rickless.
Second.
First by Cody, second by Rod. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? 9.3, discussion and possible action on the payment of bills for the month of February 2018.
So moved.
First by Betty,
Second.
second by Rich.
Tammy, in regard to page 1 of the bill summary, the Animal Welfare Friends for $380.
Yeah.
What was that regarding?
That was for 3 different dogs. One, these are older, these were being caught up from the questions that the chief had on what these were about. One was dropped off at the vet clinic on July 10th. There was another, there was 2 dogs, one on August 16th and one on August 31st. They were picked up and taken to the shelter. And it looks like there was another one, 3 different dogs in October. So basically it was July, August, and October that they were catching up.
It's
So
my
there's
understanding that
6 dogs.
there is, in a sense, reimbursement due to the city? Or
These-
supposed to be?
If the owner picks them up. The owner did not pick these up. These are 6 dogs.
Where is our traceability and follow-up to that? So how do we get notified when they're picked up? Do we get notified, sorry, they're still here?
They put it on their bill, rather than charge us, they list it on here and say, owner picked up, no charge, type of thing.
So the status
These-
of these is unknown.
These were ones that were not picked up, and then what the contract says is they will get them ready for adoption. If possible, if not, then.
Let's see. Down about 2/3 of the way on the page, there's a back-to-back line items from Dan's overhead door. $1,390 and $6,760. What are those in relation to?
The $1,390 was for the streets department. He replaced an overhead door,
Okay,
an old door that needed replaced, and the other $6,760 was for the doors on the new building at the wastewater plant.
okay. And did we ascertain bids on the
Yes.
new?
Yep, they got 2 different bids. Dan's overhead doors, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but we had 2 bids on both of them.
Because I did see in this listing, another overhead door company. So I was just wondering if it was a bid or if we just, in a sense, select.
No,
Okay.
I always request the department heads get 2 bids for comparison. Minimum.
Page 2 at the bottom. $13,174 to Mississippi Valley Pump.
Yes.
Is that total replacement or just repairs?
That was repairs. To replace it, it would have been I don't know where Dan Smith is. 26,000 to replace the pump in whole.
We just spent 50% of a new pump. And tell me that pump is under warranty and we're gonna get reimbursed.
That pump's 5 years old now. That's why I'm rebuilding it.
I'm sure there's labor cost in that 13,000 to pull it and put it back.
Is it typical pumps in that environment? Go out and see that type of,
It's a harsh environment with chopper blades on it, they wear out.
well, it may be something we need to give more consideration to at budget time for replacement, if after 5 years, we're gonna pay for half of it again. Just a food for thought, Dan.
Yeah, it's expensive to work on.
Okay. Below that, we have a $1,950 expenditure for nozzles for the jetter. Replacements?
Nope, you know, I had one wear out, so about my
One nozzle wore out at just shy of $2,000.
They're expensive again.
What is the usage through that?
80, maybe.
Well, how many hours, or is there any way to track when an item like this, because do you consider it a service item?
It's for cleaning sewers, but it's a high tech, it's got a machine dispatch, it spins, Rob.
So it's like a, I don't know if you do this comparison, but your wiper blades, you gotta change every now and then. Is this similar in nature, or?
Yeah, they're machined in Finland, so I mean, they're a highly machined piece of equipment. They're, again, they're expensive.
How often do we
This is the
replace?
first one you've replaced on it since we've had it.
I have replaced one 2 years ago. Part of that was maintenance with the jetter with the new line item. So when we received the money from Dyersville, I reimbursed back into the truck.
I've picked apart your bills.
Thank you.
Good job, Ron.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carried. 10.0 City Administrators Report.
I have nothing.
Your last one.
11.0 Mayor and Council Report.
I don't have any reports.
I would like to make a few comments due to the large number of people that are in the chamber tonight. Appreciate your coming out. I know the issues that we discussed are sensitive and personal to you. Most of this council inherited the matter with the police department. So we were not sitting in these chairs when the claims, the investigations, any of that took place. Some of us, it was about the time the lawsuit was being submitted that we were elected. It can be looked at, or could be looked at, that we moved slow and did nothing. That is not the case. I will say that is inaccurate. There were members of the council that have been looking into this for weeks, more plural as in weeks. We finally received material that we were inquiring about, and we acted upon at that time. So, did this happen expeditiously? No, it did not. But to say that this council did nothing cannot be further from the truth. Again, I do appreciate each and every one of you being in presence, because it tells me that you do have a lot of passion for your community. And it isn't those here that just stand, it's the rest of us as well.
Is that all? Okay. 12.0, public with business with the council on items not on the agenda.
Maybe this will, Cecilia Hatcher, 125 South Ford Street. Maybe this will end the meeting on a little bit lighter note about the dogs, but something different. Last Pumpkin Fest, myself and another member who is present in this room were standing by a food stand, and all of a sudden a dog came running over to us. I think he was attracted by the smell and about knocked us over. I noticed the dog had a leash. The dog owner was not hanging on to the leash. And I followed him down the street, called his finally got him to turn around. And I said to him, Anamosa has an ordinance that your dog has to be on a leash. And he said, yes, my dog is on a leash, but there's nothing in the ordinance that says that you have to hang on to the leash. So I would like to know if our ordinance says he has to be hanging, somebody has to be hanging on to the leash or not.
Good point,
Thank you.
Cecilia.
That person shall remain anonymous if they want to. Not the person with the dog, the person who was with me.
I guess that is a good point.
Thank you.
We were standing there and this dog just came barreling, but I thought he was gonna knock me down, and I'm a pretty good sized person.
My name is Bill Goodman, 804 East First Street here in Anamosa. And I came here tonight primarily to give my input on the termination of Chief Simonson. But I have some other questions in addition to that. I sent an email out this weekend to the council members concerning the termination. And I wanna say in public that Rod Smith and Betty Weimer were the only two council members that got back to me concerning that email that I sent out. And I don't think that that is right. I was at the council meeting on 13th of November, and requested that email addresses for the council be put on the website, on the city website, along with photos. I waited until early February. They were still not posted on the website. I sent an email to Tammy asking her to get them up so that people could communicate with the council members. And she wrote back and said she'll have to check on whether or not they wanted their email information listed on the website. And my answer to that, even though I did not reply in that manner, was that these are people that ran for public office. They're supposed to be in tune with the community. They don't want their email address on the website, then they need to resign from the council. So it wasn't until after the 7th of February, after my mid-November request, that these email addresses got posted. All of the photos are still not up. So I'm asking you, council members that don't have your photo on the website, to please take time to come into City Hall, get your photo taken, so that people know who you are. Another thing I'd like to bring up tonight is item, if I can find it. What item is it? We're talking about citizens speaking at city council meeting.
6.2.
6.2. I'd like to ask who put that on the agenda.
I put it on the agenda with council's direction.
Okay, and what was the purpose of having it on? Because it wasn't clearly stated before.
Well, part of that, Bill, if I could respond to that, is because in the last several months, it's been, some people get to speak for a half hour, some people get to speak for 5 minutes to get a consistency going, so everybody is even on their discussions.
And one step further than that, we've had debates in here where we're sitting here and one person will give their opinion and it's duly noted. And then somebody will get up and they'll give an opinion, and if that opinion is different, then the first person gets up and they want to elaborate. And then now we have a debate going on. Your city council chambers is not a place for a debate. We will listen to everybody's opinion, but when we have a debate going on, it kind of, we need to like kind of control some of that. So it's not that we don't want to hear from anybody and everybody, but we want to respect the public, but we would like respect also in this, where we're sitting.
And for everybody to have their fair time.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
No,
So-
and I don't know if this is what you were thinking. We certainly are not attempting, trying to, or anything else, to silence the public.
That's
We
what
want
I'm
some-
concerned about, because I notice when myself, or if I'm seated and some other regular attendees walk in the room, they oftentimes get the look of, oh, here comes the usual suspects. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are times when questions need to be asked during the discussion that the council is having to clarify. And again, Dale, I ask you to speak up again tonight, and this goes for Tammy too. Before a line item is introduced on the agenda, it needs to be clearly stated and enunciated what we're talking about, so that the people in the room or viewing on the video can understand. Because it isn't clear. And that's all I'm asking. People who take the time to come to these meetings need to be able to ask pertinent questions. I agree wholeheartedly that it shouldn't get into a full-blown debate, because we don't need to be here till midnight. And they can communicate with you outside of the meeting room. However, the citizens who attend need to be able to speak up, and maybe not wait until 12.0 on the agenda when it's OBE.
Well, they're still gonna be able to address each individual item, Bill.
Yes, okay, I got that.
That
yeah.
part. And so this is to allow everybody their opportunity to speak and not be pushed aside. You have your time to speak, and that's what we want, is everybody to have their chance.
Okay, two more items quick. When I was here on the 13th of November, and I requested the emails be posted on the city website, I also asked the council, respectfully asked the council, to consider, before we start the city council meetings, to stand up, face the flag, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, like is done in most other public meetings. I never heard from any council member on this, and haven't seen it in minutes where it's been discussed. I would like that to start.
Tammy, we would put that on the agenda for next time.
And then lastly, back to the termination of the police chief. I want to thank everybody around the desk here for taking the action to get rid of him. What he done was wrong. And I fully agree with what Rod said about not all of the council members were on board when all of this was unfolding. However, there are people in this room that enabled the situation to get to where it was. And I want you to take a hard look in the mirror and make sure it never happens again. Lastly, evaluations of city employees. The evaluations on city employees need to be documented and they need to be made available to the public if requested. These evaluations have not been accomplished on a regular basis, and they need to be on the docket, on the city council docket, just as the budget is every time it rolls around. It needs to start. And when the new city administrator comes on board, I don't know if a contract has already been signed with him or not, but it damn well better not contain any clause that lets him out with money. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
I'd like to thank you all also for making the decision that you did tonight, Tammy Seeley, 202 Park Avenue, in reference to Chief Simonson. My question at this point would be how you plan to proceed at this point. Will there be an interim chief of police? How will you be proceeding from this point so that we know as a community what to expect? I think there's a little bit of concern since the chief has been here since May of 2010, and his officers have worked underneath of him in an atmosphere I would say was not how we would think our city officials would be working. So we would just like to know how you plan to proceed at this point.
If you want to undertake the appointment of an interim, you could.
Well,
in the absence of the appointment of an interim, you go to the next in command, which would be your sergeant.
we have a sergeant that has been in place. It looks as if we will rely on him to fill the leadership role. And I also would anticipate that this council make a decision to pursue, open that chief's position up for employment.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Graham Frank, 1617 Willow Ridge Court here in Anamosa.
Jen, can you speak up just a little bit, please?
I'll try. I have many questions, concerns, and comments tonight as I stand before each and every one of you. I must admit I have sat quietly watching both social media and the media, and I see that the whole truth has yet to be reported. Tonight I have questions of my own that I want answered. First, in KCRG's reporting on 2/19/18, the emails that were sent, these offensive jokes and cruel and racial comments, how did they get leaked to the media and why? There were other women sent these same emails as well. They didn't file suit or join suit. Why? Were they not offended? I did not see one of the emails that was directed just to Ford, and I did not see her targeted alone. Tonight, we as a community found out Chief Bob Simonson's fate, but will action be taken against all that were listed in the emails that were sent out? Will the city administration be cleaning house of all officers, deputies, and city officials that have come into the same wrongdoing, or will it just be the one that everyone is upset at? Will it be only Bob Simonson that is reprimanded? When it was discussed what actions will be taken against Chief Bob Simonson, was the indecision made in good faith? For all that have spoken out so far, have you all spoken only in good faith? Not out of anger, not out of letting personal feelings cloud why you are here tonight. Everyone sitting in this room who has spoken, you can honestly say that you have no skeletons in your own closets. That no one in this room has ever sent a dirty email in dirty nature, used crude language or racial slurs that you found funny on the internet, or describe anyone you've encountered, no matter sex, religion, or color. None of you have ever used your work email for professional, or none of you have used your professional emails because it was more convenient. I don't know. None of you have used work email for professional emails because it was more convenient, and none of you have posted to social media while on the clock. Has no one in this room ever had to learn the lesson the hard way or did something you wish you didn't? To all women here, can you honestly say that your husband has never sent a dirty or offensive joke via email, text message, or message on Messenger? To all men, can you say that you've never done anything in this nature either? If anyone in this room, community members, other officers, and city officials knew what happened back in 2008 and 2009 and never spoke up at that time, you hold just as much as accountability as Bob Simonson. You condone letting this behavior slide and are part of the reason why we are here tonight. Sorry.
Take a second, please.
If an investigation is opened into the Anamosa Police Department, I ask that the investigation goes back to the early 2000s. I ask this because in the early 2000s, there was 2 officers and myself all had been in touch and given statements to Jim Thomas over these same issues of racial discrimination, sexual discrimination, and more severe issues in regards to the officers at the Anamosa Police Department. Yes, Amy Ford was part of the department back then. If the same occurrences were happening back then, why didn't she speak up knowing what was going on? Why did she not file suit then, knowing the sexual nature, racial slurs, and shadiness that her fellow officers were up to? Why was it okay back then to let it go as if nothing was happening, but once the APD was clean of the old officers and the new came in, it was no longer okay? I want nothing more than what is fair on both Amy's behalf and Bob's behalf. Amy was awarded what the insurance company felt was just and fair. I personally feel letting Bob Simonson stay chief is fair as long as it is known from here on out what is expected and what will no longer be tolerated. Let this be a lesson learned that change is here and now. He suffered not only local embarrassment but national embarrassment. This is his hard lesson learned. Now time to correct the problem, not just get rid of it. I speak tonight asking my own questions and concerns so this never has to happen here in our town ever again. I have wanted to sit and ask Amy Ford some of these very questions only to realize none of it matters now, that I just want to tell her thank you. Thank you for empowering me to stand here and speak tonight. Thank you for empowering me to see that women do have rights, that these circumstances which has caused great pain and suffering to us both, mentally and emotionally, should have never been tolerated or swept under the rug. The good old boy persona is no longer acceptable these days. Generations ago, jokes could be made without feelings hurt, and women were less exposed to the man's world. The good old boy could get away with a lot more than he can today. So if you sit here tonight with the good old boy mentality, know that it is no longer an excuse and is no longer going to be tolerated or accepted. That from here on out, lessons have been learned. This joking, crude behavior and racial discrimination will no longer be accepted at all. It should never have been allowed to be accepted or tolerated ever. Not jokingly, not in anger, not on work devices, not while on the clock, and especially not acceptable if you are representing this city. Until we as a town are willing to become unified as a community, nothing will change. We will face the same problem for years to come, and we can clean house as many times as needed, but nothing will change without fixing the major problem we keep facing as a community. This should never have happened the first time or now. Twice in less than a decade is inexcusable. Nothing will ever change until lessons are learned and corrected. Getting rid of the problem does not fix the problem. Stricter policies need to be set in place, enforced, and not covered up.
Thank you, Jen.
I'm here again, John M. Ely, I should say. 301 North Davis Street. And I'd like to say that I have had some trouble with city government. I've lived out here probably, oh gosh, ever since Collins reopened the plant. I'm from Cedar Rapids, grew up around there. Never had any problems. When I first moved here, I didn't pay much attention to the city council. I lived out in the trailer park, worked nights at Collins, worked there for quite a while. But I'm here to tell you, my address, 301 North Davis, is adjacent to the mayor of this town, Darrell Barnes. And I've had issues with him over the years. And I finally tried to get the council to do something about it, which they finally did after a long, prolonged fight. One night the animal rights people came to a council meeting. And I could be a council member, encourage that, I don't know. And they got the council to agree to have the property inspected. There were 11 dogs on that property. The vet thought that it should only support 2 dogs. I believe Mayor Barnes would correct me if I'm wrong. You agreed to only 2 dogs and notified the vet that you were down to 2 dogs after a reasonable period. Yep. I've got a photograph of 3 dogs since that time on the Barnes property. I've seen 4. Okay, and Dale, you can address that. I don't know. It just seems to me you let too many dogs out of your house at once. The problem is markedly improved from what it was when there were 11 dogs there. So I haven't brought that up. The trouble is there doesn't seem to be basic honesty. It started with the mayor, collusion with the city manager, who's now gone, and of course the chief of police. When I go up there to get information on dog licenses, gonna cost me $5 each. Can't inspect it. That's not free information. I have a web page, www.anamosa.net, and it details some of the problems that I've had. Some of the problems I haven't put on the web yet. It's lengthy. It's probably poorly put together. You know, I'm not a web designer. Cost me $100 and some a year. I thought that was the best way to fight it. But I think this city needs to do some work and clean things up. And so I guess I've had my say, but you know, it's been a long, long time. And I think something needs to be done.
Thank you, John. Thanks, John.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Coker. I live at 319 Deerwood Drive. We're relocators. We moved here in March of last year, and I'm happy to be in Anamosa. There's so many wonderful things going on here. And first of all, I would like to say, I don't personally know Chief Bob Simonson or anything, but I am appalled. I worked in school for 27 years. We teach our children not to do everything that this man has done. And I cannot believe that there is no more repercussion for him than just losing his job. He has been a bully. He has sent emails that we tell our children, don't ever put anything like that on the computer, ever. And to not give Amy what she needed when she needed it is just beyond, I just can't imagine it. My grandchildren, and I have 9 that live here in Anamosa. 5 of them have had Amy in the DARE program, and I'm telling you, I was not living here at the time, but they were always, Grandma this, Grandma that. Wonderful Amy. She was somebody that I knew my grandkids could talk to if they needed. I have not seen that in any other police officer in this town, and I think it's a shame that we lost such a wonderful person, and good for Lisbon. I'm happy for them because they've got a great person and a mentor for their children to do the right thing and be the right kind of person in this world. The other thing, kudos to the Weirs, Nick and Heather. I'm so proud of the work they've done. My grandkids have been involved in that too, and they are wonderful. I just want to leave it on a happy note because I am happy to be a resident of Anamosa. But I am just ashamed of the other stuff that I have read in the paper. I did not have firsthand knowledge. Can't believe it went on this long. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If everyone's done, I would like to make a comment about, I am not from Anamosa. I'm a transplant here. I took every single thing I own and had to cash in life insurance policies, sold a 4-story house on an acreage with a pond to come to Anamosa and open grounds and goodies. I invested my entire life into this 2,000 square foot of the world. I believe in Anamosa. We have 2 golf courses. We have a state park. We have a new school. We have a new hospital. We have good people. We've got great business owners. This is still a good community. We're taking a black eye right now, but to do it all over again, I would still do it because it's still a positive, good place to live. And I think that's what you guys need to leave here with today. Are mistakes made along the way? You darn right, mistakes have been made along the way. Could things have been done better? Absolutely, it could have been done better. But we're here today. Tomorrow's a new day. We have an amazing new administrator starting. We've got good things coming for Anamosa, so please stay focused on the future and the positive.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Lori Martinson, 620 Caitlin Avenue, and I really didn't. Lori Martinson, 620 Caitlin Avenue. I really didn't intend to speak, but I do have a couple. I'll just make it a statement. And I have respect and know some of you personally, so this is just has to do with the way life should be, and the way that we are expected to behave when we represent people. What you want to send on your own time and your own email is a whole different story than what you choose to receive and send when you are an elected city official. So I would say that I respect those of you that came into this in the middle of the storm, that maybe had nothing to do with it. But if there are those of you that were in office and you received any of these emails and you sat quietly, you condoned it. You made it okay, and it's time to stand up and do what's right, which is to remove yourself. It can't be tolerated. It's not okay. It's not okay to have a blind eye to it. That's saying it's okay. We're all here trying to be brave. That's what you need to do. You need to own what your mistake is. Yes, everyone makes mistakes, but then we have to pay the consequences for them. And sometimes that's not easy, but it is what's right, and it is what we do teach our children every day. So that's what I'm asking, is if you were in the know at the time you were serving office and you got any of these ugly emails, you need to do what's right. You need to back out. You've lost the trust and respect of your community. And that is the purpose you serve. We elected you because we trusted you. And now we don't. Lastly,
I would say that I don't know exactly where I'm going with this one, but the comments from Adrian about the climate being right for her to get the money she got were so out of line. And to and I respect you as a fellow human being. I know that you've done a lot for this city, but I still can't stand back and listen to that. As a woman or as anyone who's gone through something incredibly difficult, someone was brave and took a stance, and to have that minimized, that the climate was this perfect storm, inexcusable. So that's all I have to say.
Crystal Larry, 207 South Jones Street. Kind of tagging along with that, Adrian, I would like to know if you regret those comments or if you still stand by them. Because you repeated them on the news. So I'd like to know.
I think that Amy Ford's own attorney touched on the same subject. It was either in Friday or Saturday's Gazette when she said that she thought the Me Too movement influenced. Amy Ford's own attorney in either Friday or Saturday's Gazette said that she thought the E2 movement contributed to the insurance carrier's decision to settle. I don't find that contradictory to what I said.
Adrian, do you stand by your comments?
I do. That's my assessment.
So the Me Too movement actually has been, what, the last 8 months? Her lawsuit was filed, her civil suit was filed December of 2015. Okay. She doesn't have a crystal ball. She doesn't know that that's going to happen. She doesn't know it's going to go in her favor 2 years later.
My comments were made in the context of, was it a surprise? And it was a surprise.
I don't think it was a surprise. In the last meeting, you said that she filed a complaint with Alan Johnson and then shortly thereafter filed her civil lawsuit.
She filed a civil rights complaint.
Okay, civil complaint, I'm sorry. So, here's actually what happened. She filed her complaint with Alan in July. Okay, she met with an attorney, did a consultation in August. They discussed, what should I do? Her attorney, who she later retained, said, you need to request a response. She requested a response. She did not get that until sometime in September. She filed her lawsuit in December. So, I don't know when the complaint was exactly filed, but it's just proof that that's too much time. That's too much time. She was not heard. She was not addressed. The complaint was not addressed in an appropriate amount of time. So, moving forward, I think we need to really stop and think about how we're saying things. We need to stop and think about what we're doing. In regards to your comment about some of you came in during this, you came in knowing what was happening maybe, what was going on, and the second that you find out, even if you hear a rumor, you have a responsibility to the residents, to the children. I mean, if we can't talk about the sexuality of the emails, we can at least talk about the racism. I mean, big-lipped mother effers, are we serious right now? I called the school, and I requested information on enrollment. 23 African-American students in our school. Okay, I'll leave the adults out of this. What about the kids? Come on. We're supposed to let them look up to somebody who's calling them big-lipped mother effers? I don't think so. I think that's completely inappropriate. And when I spoke last time, it was because I sat down at the end of the day and I said, yeah, I'm going to ruffle some feathers, but at the end of the day, if I come home and that chief is in my home with my children, I'm not comfortable with that. And I should not have to feel like I have to investigate the chief. And I should not fear retaliation either. I drive all the time. I've lived here for 9 years. Guess what? Never had a single infraction in this town. But all week, the week after the council meeting, I told my husband, you drive. You drive. And I don't let him drive very often. I'm a terrible passenger. Terrible. But it's because of comments like that. And it's because of the good old boys club. And it's because of retaliation, which there is a history of. And it's unacceptable. And it needs to stop. And it doesn't just come from the chief. It's infiltrated down through the department, and I know it has. So, it needs to stop. We need to post, like you said, the position, and we need to hire somebody outside of the department. Because we have lost faith, we have no confidence in our officers anymore. These are things that we really need to sit back and think about. And I don't know if possible, but when you guys have it narrowed it down to who you would like as the chief, different candidates, perhaps you can put together a panel of residents. Just allow us to maybe meet the person. Maybe give us some names so we can do a little background check of our own. I mean, how many of us know somebody in Makokata that would have said, good Lord, don't hire that man? I mean, for the love of God. Did you check anything when you hired him? I mean, I can go through DCI investigation. Where'd that money go? I can go through all these claims of him giving pills to people. I can go through claims of sexual misconduct in Makokata. I can go through names of people, lists of people who have contacted me since I spoke up. And I know my name's getting dragged through the mud for some people. That's okay. I'll take a shower and wake up clean tomorrow. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't care. The problem is we need to focus on these things. And if we're not doing due diligence when we're hiring somebody, that is a major problem. Because now, like I said last time, instead of being proactive, we are now reactive. It has cost a lot of money. I hinted on it before. 50 grand could have bought a lot of ballistics vests. I don't know why in the hell there was no ballistics vest bought. And in fact, I actually just found out there is a supplier in somewhere along the Mississippi. They're $600 to law enforcement. Ridiculous. You actually could have made some money off me because I was willing to pay $1,500. But the point is, we're not acting like a city. We're not acting like a business. We're not acting like officials. And when your city attorney stands by dismissing women and their claims, that is atrocious. And then,
In my defense, I don't think that is a fair categorization.
is that fair?
I think it is.
I think it's fair. We think it's fair. Our shirts say it's fair. We've had enough. We're done. We've had enough. 51 shirts in 3 days. Are you kidding me? In a town this size? And how many of you maybe wanted to buy another one? I have a list of people that are on a waiting list. This is ridiculous. And I have some. So I'm just saying, you really need to stop and think about it. And I see you smiling at me. You're smirking at me. I don't enjoy that at all. You're an elected official, and we all need to sit back and we all need to think about this. I called every single one of you today, and guess what? One person answered and one person called me back. That's a problem. If we can't contact our city council, and I emailed every single one of you too and never heard back from any of you. And how do we contact you, or do we get told there will be action taken against us? Which is what you told the news. So, I'm just saying, we have the right to contact people, and the media has the right to contact you. And we have been waiting for a response, and we didn't get it. And that's why the pressure, that's why. Because we didn't get a response.
Tammy and she will get a hold of me. Because my email doesn't work, because every time.
Okay, let's fix that. Fix your email, please. I'm officially asking you to fix your email. Phone number, email. You should be available.
Every time I get on email,
it's 2018. I mean, come on. It's on everybody's cell phone in this room. I think we need to seriously address some things, apparently from the top, all the way down. So, to review, let's be a little more careful how we say things. Let's be a little more considerate of our own employees. She was here, she was an employee. Regardless of any feelings, she was an employee and deserved the right to file a complaint without being biased against. I would really like to hear back from people when we contact them. I'll give you, it was a little late notice, I'll give you that. But I would really appreciate the return contact.
And I think it's unfair for you guys to sit up here and say, we didn't know about it. Because it's funny, I think everybody in this room knew more about it than what you guys did. And when we addressed you last week, if you had been working on it for weeks, you could have said that, and you could have saved a little bit of this vote of confidence that you've lost. I mean, you guys could have said that. And you didn't. So, all of this negative talk is all on you guys. Honestly, it's all on you guys. You didn't say anything. You didn't stand up for anything that was right. That's all I have to say.
Hi, my name is Anthony Arrington. I'm not even from here. This is how widespread your problem has gotten. I'm 25 miles down the road. Big lip black guy who lives in Cedar Rapids. So I came here because I wasn't planning to speak today. I really just wanted to observe how the city managed the situation. I'm on the Fair Policing Committee in Cedar Rapids, and we've been working with the city officials for a better part of a year and a half regarding a shooting of an African American over what we know as pretextual stops. And we know why it happened. We see people like me that get shot like this a lot. I'm not here to play the race card. I got statistics to show it. So every time I step out of my house, I know there's a target on my back, and I've lived like that. So I do want to say something, though. I am freaking proud of you guys here. Really proud of my only experience in Anamosa. I built a house about 15 years ago. I have a plumber friend here who did my plumbing in my house, and I coached my daughters in basketball, and I've been up here to Anamosa High School, played a heck of a lot of basketball, heck of a lot of softball. I've always had respect for this community, and of course, as an African American, I know about the penal system here. The times I've been there, originally were as a kid seeing relatives there, because I know one of every four of them that look like me live in that place. And I've got to know Tim Duisberg, who spent 30 plus years here. Anybody know Tim Duisberg? Tim Duisberg is a very good friend of mine, and I spent a lot of time with Tim Duisberg. I've been helping him. We've been doing a lot of work together, and even in his retirement, we're still connected. We're helping each other. I've toured the facilities here in Anamosa, the penal system, and spent some time speaking to prisoners.